Hi, my name is Ben. I'm currently 24 years old, and but what I'm going to tell you that scared me something when I was only 16 years old during a summer vacation with my family. I will make a brief backstory on this one. Throughout my entire childhood, me and my family has always been going on different family vacations during the summer. We have been to Grand Canyon, to Florida twice, and we even have been to Hawaii one time. And to even this day, Hawaii was the absolute best holiday spot for my entire life. And even though it was just only me, my older brother Tyler, and my parents, but we have been to many different places. And sure, every time when we go to one place that we have been to before or to a whole new spot, sure, I always spend time with my family, but me and my brother have this always had this curiosity. Even as young kids, we always explore the area, even though we have been told by our parents always to being close to where we're staying and not get lost. And we never did get lost. Well, maybe one time, but we were always had this urge to explore new areas. But when I was 16, during the summer break, me and my family were discussing on where we were going to go on this particular summer vacation this time. Tyler, who was in his during university, but he had at least a summer vacation time from this one. So we decided to at least go somewhere that we haven't been before. But where? Well, I suggested why don't we go to Puerto Rico? And my parents actually thought it was a good idea since it is a good spot and it's part of American territory. I said to them, and even Tyler, who was 20 years old at the time, he actually agreed. So we decided to be there for 2 weeks. And since Tyler had some time off from university at the time, I was really excited about this. And as we arrived to the airport on Puerto Rico, this tropical environment was nothing new to me, since we have been to Hawaii before. It's kind of similar, and even when we were to Florida twice, it was kind of the same thing, but a whole new environment, a whole island. I was really stunned. And even now that I was 16, and I was pretty much allowed to do things on my own if I wanted to, and sure, I pretty much did. But since we were going to stay on this island for 2 weeks, we had decided, even before we went to Puerto Rico, we had made a list of things we wanted to do, like swim in the ocean, do some sightseeing, and of course, to explore the island. I mean, considering that Puerto Rico is a big island and had a very much rich history. So, for the first few days, we did a lot of exploring in the local towns and even went to the beaches and even had amazing food at the restaurant. The people was always polite, even though there were some scary moments like when Tyler was almost hit by a moped, which he never was, but to him that was a little bit scary. Well, I laughed and said, Tyler, you really remember, always look at both sides twice before you cross the street. And he looked at me with almost an evil grin, was like, as I don't remember that. But he knew that I was just joking. But as we were exploring this new island, we actually had been introduced some of the locals. We asked them sometimes if there were any particular spots on the island or near town that we could explore. Or my parents, even they were never much a fan of going like into caves. But some of the locals actually introduced us to some local caves that were actually open for the public. But they weren't even like that deep. But we actually went there, even though my mom was not much a fan of bats. She didn't hate bats or didn't dislike them. It's just sometimes when they appear in the middle of nothing, middle of nowhere, it scared her, which, well, happens to anyone. But anyways, we really had a good time. But during our second week, it was in the early second week of our vacation time, me and my parents had decided we want to do things on our own. So during one particular day, my parents decided that they want to spend time in town and then go to the beach. And Tyler and myself, we didn't have any particular plans since we had basically almost done anything. We had been seeing a lot of things around in the area. We had already been to the beach like the day before. Sure, I mean, go to the beach in a tropical place is always fun. But just by going to the beach every single day, it eventually would tire you out. You'd be like, it's like swimming in a common lake back home. And we decided why not doing this on other things. We did ask at the hotel receptionist if there was any other spots that we can actually do exploring that's not usually but not what they recommend. The receptionist actually told us that she knew there were a small business that actually rented out bikes. And there were this quite popular bike trail around outside town in the dense jungle. And we thought, why not? We usually do bike rides back home, so we asked for this location, this place, and she said it was just down the street, and then when you come to this intersection, turn right. That will be the first shop when you turn right, she said. So we thanked her, and we went to this location as the same direction that she gave us. And I was asking Tyler we were on our walk there, what did he think that we will actually see in this jungle? Well, he said, maybe a dragon. I laughed. It's like, Tyler, you know dragons don't exist. Well, what else do you think we will see? I don't know. Maybe some, a small stray dog or something. Well, how about we will encounter the legendary mystical creature known as Chupacabra? The Chupacabra, I asked. And even though I knew what the Chupacabra were, since my brother, even to this day, is a huge fan of cryptical creatures like Bigfoot, Yeti, Loch Ness Monster, and even Chupacabra. When I actually remember the first time when he introduced me this Chupacabra creature on a photo or on a drawing that someone had made, I was like, that is a weird animal. And I even asked him, what does Chupacabra actually mean? When he jokingly said, it actually means goat sucker. I laughed and was like, goat sucker? But then he explained that this Chupacabra creature is reportedly to be sucking the blood of goats, meaning there were no blood left in their bodies. I told him, like a vampire? He kind of said like a vampire, but except that this creature has been seen both daytime and daytime. And since we both know vampires only will appear at nighttime, not daytime. So when we came to this small shop, we actually did and rented the 2 bikes, and they even gave us a map of their official route for this bike ride. And the ride will take us at least maybe 2 hours. I even asked if there were any unofficial bike routes that were often that was not part of the map. They said there were some natural trails, but they would not recommend because they were not well maintained, since if the bikes would have been damaged, it would be on our own. But they were said that there were a few things that was along the path that we could have been seeing, like some small rivers, lakes. I even asked if there was any place that we can actually see any animals, like natural animals like birds, parrots, or anything. The shop owner actually said there were a few spots along the map which were marked that were a good chance of being seeing some of the local birds, local animals, And we thanked the owner and paid for the bikes for the rent, and we took off. But during our ride, I was curious what kind of animals or birds we will be seeing on this ride. I mean, I've probably seen a lot of the birds already, but I love animals, and I still do. I think, if in fact, I'm a huge animal lover. I love animals. If I even could, I wish I could even have a tiger as a pet. But it's not like easily that to have. First, you need a special permit for that, and they can be dangerous. But anyways, I asked Tyler during the bike ride where we're supposed to be, where this bike path was starting. He said that it should start within next less than another 2 miles from here. And we have been bike ride, and we left the paved road into dirt road. And soon, here we go. And it says an official sign, it showed the direction, and we start bike riding. And since the shop owner told us it would take us at least 2 hours, but it could take longer if you make several stops on the way. And first the first part of the first mile, there was a lot of great views. There were dense jungles. We did stop a few times and took photos of some of the animals and the birds, and we actually loved this. And we even found some great spots that we took selfies with near to some of the birds, like the parrots, and it was a great time. And shortly, and even though Tyler actually did brought his backpack with some snacks and drinks if we would get hungry. And since it is a very humid temperature in this particular part, so we thought we should probably take a stop somewhere that we can actually sit down. I mean, we probably didn't even knew if there was any benches along the path or there was anything. But we were hoping to find some good rocks to sit on, at least. And after halfway through the path, we actually found at least a decent sized boulders that we sat down to start eating. We actually talked about our time so far on this Puerto Rico paradise, as we both call it. But what we didn't know was going to happen later on the path. But I asked Tyler so far what he thought about this island. And I even remember when he mentioned the chupacabra to me years earlier. So, Tyler, yeah, do you actually believe this chupacabra creature can actually exist here? Well, people have been seeing it for at least a number of years, despite how many photos, the witness testimony from witnesses, and even photographs. But haven't many of them been declared as fakes or misunderstanding or misidentification of the animals? Yeah, that's true. Some of the animals could have been misunderstanding to be just a common dog or like a coyote or something. And I mean, since some of the people admit that it kind of looks like a dog, or at least a dog-like creature, Ty said. I was really surprised at how this animal had been just appeared. I asked for his honest opinion. Does he believe that this alien, as I call it kind of looks like an alien? I asked him, do you think this is an actual Earth species, or if there's an alien species that comes from outer space, or if you believe that it could have been some sort of engineered by the government or something? Well, I don't believe it's an alien species itself, but it could have been possible that it could have been an engineered species. I mean, due to the fact that we know science had made a lot of progress in different fields, like cloning, and yeah, but do you think that this could have been a clone species? I doubt it, said Tyler almost normally. I doubt it is like any known animal, but do you think this could have been a cloned animal that they put mixed DNA as to create a whole new species? I don't believe that, he said. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I don't if the word type of technology exists, I wouldn't know. And we drop the topic about the chupacabra and start talking about our future plans about college for myself and university for him. Even though I was still in high school, but I just talked about I want to go to college. After we finished, we continued the bike rides path and we saw a lot more animals and suddenly along the near almost end of the path there were this open area. Even though it wasn't really that big, there was just probably just a big clearing for both sides. But as we were biking, we were moving slowly, but then we heard this strange rustling sound. So we both stopped, and since there was no much big trees in the area, even there were some trees in this particular place, but they were not like dense trees. And we looked around and saw no much any birds, but the rustling came from my end, from my side, on the right side of the path. And I pointed it probably from there. There were some bushes in the area, and as we were looking and listening, the rustling came even louder and louder, and suddenly, out from the bushes, a strange creature walked out. I was like, whoa, that's a big dog, but a bit different. But as Tyler, he actually grabbed his phone and started recording. He was silent. And as we saw this creature looked at us, it kind of had this almost reddish eyes looking at us. And as it looked at us, I felt it's like it was looking right into our soul. I was scared. I was scared that this creature would attack us, or this dog, or what I will call it. But as it was just looking at us, and it actually walked at least towards me and Tyler, and we didn't have no weapons if we would have been able to defend. But then Tyler somehow turned off his camera and put back his phone and started screaming like, get away from us, loudly and waving his arms. And he said, don't do the same thing, and I did. And then this dog, or what as it stopped, looked at us, and turned around and ran off down the side, and it just disappeared. After only a moment after this, we lost sight of it. Tyler said, let's go. What was it? Let's go, he said almost screamingly. So I didn't know anything else, so I just started paddling. But I saw that Tyler was paddling faster and faster from this place. I tried to do the same thing, but I had a little difficult to keep up with him. He is very much a good athlete. But after a while, we managed to get out of the path and we found another paved road, and even when tried to ask him what was that, but he refused to even say a single word. But as we came back into town a moment later, we returned the bikes, but the owner asked us what we thought about this travel or the backpack. I said it was a good time. We found a lot of big animals there, but there was one thing. But Tyler said, "Nah, that's nothing." But we had a good time. Thank you. And as we were walking away from the store, I was like, Tyler, why didn't you tell the man about this strange creature? He then turned around and told me, look, I know what we saw. What? That was Chupacabra. I didn't believe and laughed at him. Dude, that is not Chupacabra, I said with almost a whisper. Don't think about it. Don't mention this to mom and dad. They would even believe you. They'd even believe in such things and it exist. Which was true, because sometimes when Tyler and I was talking about this, Dad sometimes overheard us and he said, don't talk about such nonsense. They don't even exist. If they had existed, they would probably have found proof of those. And my dad was true though. I mean, a lot of the Loch Ness monsters photographs had turned out to be fake, or was it inclusive to even to confirm it was a creature or not. And so when we got back to the hotel, Tyler showed me another photo of the Chupacabra, and the one he did had, and sure enough, it was identical. We for sure, with our own eyes, had seen this legendary chupacabra on Puerto Rico in a dense forest. Both me and Tyler agreed not to mention this to our parents, since they would even believe us, despite how what we saw. And Tyler actually showed this recording to some of his friends back home after we came back home. They all agreed that was Chupacabra. But despite this day, our parents has never seen this, and he still have a copy of that recording on his computer and a CD. Even though this vacation was far the most scariest I had, well, but it doesn't really stop me to going back to Puerto Rico. In fact, I'm hoping one day soon to be able to go back to Puerto Rico, but maybe not. I'm unlikely to see the Chupacabra again. But Puerto Rico actually is a great spot for vacation, for holidays, and I hope to go there one day with my own future family one day. And despite what this Chupacabra, well, following, please let us never meet. Even though that you didn't scare me, but I'm going back to this beautiful island.